Let's have a look at the lineup on the Fuso starting grid. And from the pole position, it's Jamie Whincup, Red Bull Racing Australia, alongside Mark Winterbottom. So Ford versus Holden on row 1. Then it's Jason Bright, Scotty Mclaughlin for a Holden row 2. BOC versus Fujitsu. Third row of the grid, local heroes Shane Van Gisbergen, VIP Pet Foods, and he's with Frenchman Alex Premer. Davey Reynolds, reinvigorated this weekend, Botlow Racing. He's with Craig Lowndes, 7 and 8. Positions 9 and 10. These guys both carrying penalties into this race, Garth Tander and Fabian Coulthard.
So 11 and 12 belong to Will Davison. First time outside of the top 10 in qualifying so far this season, but he was only one spot out of there. His brother's behind him with Jonathan Webb alongside him. Rick Kelly is the leading Nissan in the field. A great job from Tim Blanchard out of DJR Wilson Security Racing. In just his 20th career race start, he will qualify from position 16. Further back, Todd Kelly's already had his dramas this weekend. Tony D'Alberto. Team Highflex is made up of a whole stack of Kiwis down there in the garage, so they'll be urging Tony on. 23 and 24, James Moffat's had some wild rides. Russell Ingall, a bit of damage going off in practice and again in qualifying. And Johnny Reid is one of 4 Kiwis in the field. Tim Slade at the rear. So the 4 Kiwis are Reid, Shane Van Gisbergen, Fabian Coulthard and Scott Mclaughlin.
A couple of interesting numbers come out of this race historically, that there's about a 75% probability of safety car intervention. We often see a lot of incidents here, and we've seen them already in practice qualifying and the shootout. The other thing is the conversion rate from pole to win here isn't that flash either. It's less than 20%. Worth bearing in mind as we rattle through the field here of all the onboard action that you're going to see in this race. It's going to be a beauty.
So the schedule for the weekend in terms of racing is 4 races, 35 laps each, 100 Ks. That will require only 85 litres of fuel, and these tanks are 112 litres. So no stops, no planned stops throughout this race. It's become a really popular format as well. We're looking at top speed now of 255 Ks at the end of the back straight, and an average speed of 168 Ks, which now puts it third on all the circuits that we go to. Only Bathurst and Phillip Island faster.
So now in this race, Matt, we reignite that battle that's been going season after season between Whincup and Winterbottom. They're on the front row of the grid. We've seen some terrific stoushes between them over a long period of time.
Career best qualifier for young Scotty Mclaughlin on the second row of the grid in front of his home crowd here. He's enjoyed every moment of his young V8 supercar career. It's amazing to think that this is just his 9th race start.
And this is a very hard start, Matt, with a downhill start like this. Green flag about to come out. Grid set. And as Neil said, Whincup versus Winterbottom to the first corner. This will be fantastic.
Green flag, green flag.
So after 6 years in the making, Pukekohe Park Raceway roars back to life in the V8 Supercar Championship. Whincup and Winterbottom, toe-to-toe, down to turn 1. The 2 Fujitsus gang up and take positions 3 and 4. So a good move from Alex Premer to go from 6th to 4th.
2 of the best starts I've seen. That start from Whincup and Winterbottom were absolutely even, and they gapped the field. They were perfect starts from the front row. Look at this.
It's been a clean start for the entire field. 27 cars out there. Massive lock-up for Whincup. He's going to go straight through. That's down at turn 5.
You'll have to pull him behind. You have to slow up. You'll have to redress this.
He's damaged.
For a new front left tyre.
Okay, there you go. Whincup on the radio. He's damaged that front left beyond repair, and it's actually popped, I think. So he's in and yields the lead then to Mark Winterbottom with a margin. How's the angry pack down at the hairpin?
Oh, that's
Tander
massive.
on the grass. He only just got away with it. It cranked sideways at turn 10.
So Winterbottom now has the lead. Scott Mclaughlin is second. You should have seen him in the grandstands as he came past. That's Alex Premer third. Then it's Jason Bright, Craig Lowndes, Tander somehow held on. Van Gisbergen, Reynolds, Coulthard and Will Davison make up our top 10.
I'll bet you Whincup's tyre was punctured before the braking area. As soon as he put his foot on the brake, it immediately locked and he was gone. That was punctured as a result of damage coming onto the back straight.
Reynolds having a look up the inside of Coulthard. There's not much room here as we also show you this pit stop at Red Bull for the front left. That'll put a cold tyre on there. You'll have to nurse that for the first lap. They're side by side through 5. It's still on between Reynolds and Coulthard. Van Gisbergen in the mix here as well. Fabian's on the outside at the hairpin and stays on the outside.
So that's a positional gain for Shane Van Gisbergen. He goes up to 7th. Reynolds has been doing side-by-side racing since the get-go. Davison behind him gets the car all out of shape. He's not alone, though.
That was great driving then, Davison and Reynolds. To get through turn 10 and 11 like that is the highest level of commitment and no bumping. Very, very nice driving. James Courtney also, very good job to tuck in behind Davison there without making contact. Really good quality stuff.
Standing flying lap time, first flying lap time is a 64.7. Even the standing lap was very quick for Winterbottom. Here's Bright, Tander and Lowndes. Lowndes, I think, was very close to off the road down there at 5, right over the top of the curb.
So that puts Garth up into 5th.
And he's got damage on the grille of that Holden as they negotiate the turn 8 hairpin. Great air buffer here for Winterbottom. And how's the performance of the Fujitsu cars in 2nd and 3rd with Mclaughlin and Prema?
Guys, here's an insight into what happened to Jamie's tyre. He's actually, the angle he's hit the curb has just popped the tyre off the bead. So just a bad piece of luck the way he's hit the curb at the speed, and the force has just basically ripped the tyre off.
That is bad luck, Moritz, especially after such, as Scafie said, such an even good start. From pole position, he got a ripper.
Look at this. This jump, the two of them, a perfect jump. Two front cars. Look at the way they walk away from the field. Absolutely alongside each other. Look at the gap they've got. That's as good as you would ever see from the two front grid holders.
You watch to the left here. Watch Mark Winterbottom yield a bit. So he gets the nose up in front in the Pepsi Max Ford. And just there, he went, I can't go on with this.
Clever.
Yeah, good decision because it's dirty on the outside there. He'd understeer off the road.
See, it's already on the angle.
It's gone.
So that tyre was already punctured before he got there. So he had no choice but to blaze through.
He's got a great margin at the moment, though. He's got a 1.3 second margin Winterbottom over Mclaughlin. So Whincup having to recover from the back of the field, but he's just done the fastest lap of the race.
False start against car 34 of Alex Prema, so 10 seconds. Whoa! Hold on, Dean Fiore. 10 seconds will be added to the race time of that car right there, 34, Alex Prema.
Which means that he was either moving at the light change or the front wheels were outside the box, past the actual start line. Now remember that Winterbottom is also hurting from losing that race last weekend. He was stunned by what happened when Coulthard went by, and he hasn't had a race win since May last year, so he is going to be on it at the moment, Mark Winterbottom, and try and get these guys up there where he and the team feel they rightfully belong.
No question, he was bristling just 6 days ago at Symmons Plains Raceway, but now he's got clear skies ahead of him and great track position because our championship leader, Jamie Whincup, is currently last. So some good movers and shakers there on your Coates Hire leaderboard. As we approach the 6th lap, it's Winterbottom leading Scotty Mclaughlin. So for our international viewers, Scotty the leading Kiwi, Alex the leading only Frenchman, Shane Van Gisbergen in 7th, Fabian Coulthard behind him in 8th, Johnny Reid in 23rd. Gap at the front is 2.2 seconds as Lowndes resumes this battle that he has with Garth Tander. Remember, Tander got by him just 2 or 3 laps ago, this part of the circuit, and now Lowndes is getting his groove back. So they're 5th and 6th. Van Gisbergen, the VRP Pet Foods Commodore for Techno Autosports, tucked in behind him. Of course, Shane started the season with 2 pole positions at the Adelaide Street Circuit and backed it up with the victory on Sunday. which gave him the Clipsal 500 trophy. And there's Alex Davison back in the V8 Supercars full-time this year in the Geldwin Ford. Oh, David Wall tight, and he snuck through, I think. He did on Johnny Reid. You're riding with David Reynolds, the Bottle Ford, car 55. He's inside the top 10. Mark Winterbottom, also out of Ford Performance Racing, leads the race from Scott Mclaughlin, 2.3 seconds behind.
Bit of news in the break. Believe it or not, black flag, pit lane penalty. Jamie Whincup, car number 1, exceeding the pit lane speed limit. So when the tide goes out in this business, it goes right out.
It's cruel, isn't it?
So he's probably arrived too quick across the initial control line. Here he is serving that.
Everyone's gone past. Obviously we've gone a lap down, but we still need to learn. We still need to get a good read on these tyres.
So Mark Dutton saying, let's just focus this now on being a test session, get something out of it. We're a lap down.
Isn't that a kick in the guts? Given you go back and think about that lap that he put together in the shootout, which Mark Scaife, you've said is one of the best you've ever seen, especially around here. And that's the kind of luck that plays out from pole position. GRM have got their own concerns on car 34. Remember, he's got a 10-second penalty to be added at the end of this race, Alex Primer, for a false start.
Matty, how much does Auckland love its V8 Supercars? Every time Scotty McLaughlin comes by, the crowd over here go to their feet. It is an amazing turnout, a huge crowd, and that size crowd is repeated in different spots all around the circuit. But they are loving being so close to the action, and having this race back at Pukekohe Park is an awesome turnout. They are right into it too, New Zealand motorsport fans.
You got that, and I tell you, from that hill there that we're looking at, that you were just saying, you can see them come up around turn 10, up over the rise at turn 11. You've got no idea of the elevation changes and the bumps at this circuit. And whilst the drivers complain about the bumps, that's what makes this circuit. That's the character of this circuit. And that's what they actually deep down love, because that means that they've got to pilot this car using every ounce of their skill.
No doubt, and the level of commitment there is extraordinary. As I said before, it's one of the best couple of corners, 10 and 11. This is 10 that you will ever see. And the bump right where the cars are now upsets the car. And the conversion, that bump there from the left to right is wild. And to watch from where Mark Beretta referred to the crowd on the old Ford Hill, that is one of the best places to watch motorsport anywhere in the world.
And in analysis, when you watch how long the cars react to that bump, it gives you a true indication of their behaviour and how well they're tuned to the road. Some cars, they dampen the effect of that bump quickly and they settle down. Others go on with it for a while. So as you watch our coverage over the course of the weekend, you watch very carefully and you'll see the cars that are behaving and those that aren't.
Forward now with Dave Reynolds, right up behind Fabian Coulthard. So remember, he got the penalty. He went from the front row of the grid to 10th. And this is as good as it gets in terms of following a local hero around one of the best racetracks that you'd ever want to drive on. This is the section we just referred to. Have a look.
So that telemetry on the top left will tell the story of the speeds. This shot will show you the bumps and the wheel work. Oh, let's ride with Davey Reynolds here. up to top gear and top speed along the main straight. All of that in just 64 seconds. And then when they arrive down here at turn 1, there's this signature bump as well.
There's probably about 5 to 7 seconds of peace down the back straight. The rest of the time, there's a fair amount of white knuckle fever around here. It's 3.2 seconds, the gap Winterbottom to Mclaughlin. And check this out. Tyre massive damage on the left rear of Winterbottom's car. It's peeled the rubber off, pulled the guard off. Why?
That is unbelievable. From the lead.
So there's damage at the back there. Is that caused by the tyre just falling apart, or was there contact?
Might be curb related again.
And what that has done, it's taken our first 2 race leaders out of the picture, and it's put Scott Mclaughlin, the 19-year-old Kiwi, in charge of this race at Pukekohe. What about the reception he's going to get around here? They can't believe it. They're on their feet, and they're going nuts. A teenager leading the V8 Supercar race.
Isn't it great to see? And he did a great job in the non-championship event in Melbourne. Picked up the win, but didn't have the championship points attached to it, and he's on target now.
Safety car.
There'll be debris everywhere. There'll be carcass of tyre and mudguard. It's absolutely exploded. So, the interesting question for me here is why? Listen to that.
Look at the damage. The tyre becomes like a rope. So all the construction of the tyre has delaminated and just torn the back guard off this Falcon. It's unbelievable.
Be back after this. Can Scotty Mclaughlin hold on for his first championship win?
So that was Frank Adamson, the category technical manager, who was standing by on the side of the car from V8 Supercar, just making sure that the repair was appropriate. So that's gutting. Here's the Petters STP Chrysler safety car. And that'll pick up the leader, who is now Scott Mclaughlin. How's that for a big news story in New Zealand? So this is fantastic for this young guy. He's such a likeable character. He's such a great driver and already has a very impressive CV. New Zealand Super Touring champion. Outstanding performance in the V8 Development Series in Australia. Got a run at the Sydney Telstra 500 at the back end of the Australian season last year with Gary Rogers when Alex Premer was ill, and has made his mark instantaneously in this new season of V8 Supercar racing.
Yeah, that opportunity came through just, what was it, an hour after he'd wrapped up the Dunlop Series. So he barely had time to celebrate the championship win in the Development Series leading into the main game when he was in the main game, and he handled it with aplomb.
High idle speed of the Tim Slade Mercedes AMG E63. Listen to it howling in the background.
Sounds like a supercharged buzz cutter.
Sounds angry, doesn't it? Now what this will do, obviously, is bunch up this field. Bunched up fields at Pukekohe equals a bit of excitement typically. And the stats remain true to form here. The safety car intervention rate is very high. Gee, that's a shame, isn't it? After such a promising start for Mark Winterbottom and for Jamie Whincup for that matter.
Okay, safety car, just hold 60 kilometres now, hold 60 kilometres now.
This is race control. Extreme left of screen is Michael Massey. To his right is Investigating Officer Cam McConville. To his right, Race Director Tim Schenken.
What an amazing turn of events here at race 6 of the championship, our opening race of the ITM 400 Auckland. You can see that the Petters Chrysler safety car has the field in its hands, and Scott Mclaughlin is first to the queue. And an interesting scenario here, we know that Alex Premer is going to be pinged 10 seconds for a false start. He's currently in second, so he can kind of run a bit of defence here for his young teammate, because he can't get the win unless he streets him. That's unlikely. So it's a really interesting balance as Mark Winterbottom comes back in.
Sorry, Matty. Yeah, what they're going to make him do, I was just talking to Frank Adamson from V8 Supercars, they need to repair this damage a little bit better so nothing ends up flying off into the crowd, because the air can get in there, as you can see,
and tuck in there in the hole. There'll be quite high pressure there, and you get in there and potentially blow some of those parts off. So the guys always carry, rather than rolls of race tape, they carry these great big strips of it ready to go, which is a great tool for holding bumpers on and guards on and covering great big holes. But if I could just grab you, Rich, and come with me for a second, mate. We'll come around. Let's have a look at this tyre of Winterbottom's, because trying to work out what's going on here, very, very difficult. But the back edge of those curbs out there on the circuit, not all of them, I can tell you, are very, very sharp. So what we suspect is happening is, this is a tyre that just come off, although there's no real clear evidence. But I was just talking to the Kevy Fitzsimmons from Dunlop. It's possible that as this is dragging across the curb is just literally catching the inside edge of the tyre there. But if you look there's no witness mark. There is no mark on the rim itself, so a little bit hard to analyse at the time. But when you get two front cars happen same place on the track, you'd have to suspect that's what it'd be.
Yeah, well done, Larko, and probably two different reasons, because the left front safety car comes off now. The left-hand front for Whincup, that was very early, low tyre pressures, and actually pulled the tyre off the bead. The other ones had some other sort of damage.
Sensational job from Mclaughlin to pull away. Might even be tight. It was a good one. You saw him put the distance on his teammate and Jason Bright. So at the restart, Mclaughlin leads them through. Then it's Prema, Bright, Tander, Lowndes. That's your top five. Shane Van Gisbergen, the bright yellow car, 97.
I think it's from there, Matt. I reckon that's where the damage is, out of there.
Down here at turn 5. Tander has a look on the inside of Bright. Lowndes goes in search of clean air. Fabian Coulthard tucked up behind Van Gisbergen. Reynolds, Will Davison and James Courtney behind them to make up your top 10.
Isn't it a cruel sport? The drama for Whincup, the drama for Winterbottom. Winterbottom was 3.5 seconds in the lead and gone. And now young Scott Mclaughlin, young New Zealand hero, at the front of this field. This will be the most pressure that this young man has ever been under in his short career, because to lead on home turf in front of the best drivers in the world, this is big time.
As Neil mentioned, he's already had success this year finding the checkered flag at the Australian Grand Prix in the non-championship event. This one will mean absolutely everything to him. Originally from Christchurch, now he's here in front of the Pukekohe crowd. Loves motorsport, loves seeing Kiwis win at this circuit, and got used to it through the years of Greg Murphy's dominance.
Alex Prema's keeping in touch with him, though, here at the moment. He's certainly not throwing in the towel. And Lowndes has been absolutely chewing away on the back of Garth Tander's car now for quite a lot of laps. And there's a fair bit of action in that queue when you look at it. You've got Tander, Lowndes, and then Van Gisbergen trying to claw his way by, and immediately behind him is Coulthard, who we know has got a quick car. So nobody in that group can afford to blink, or they'll drop a spot or more.
Notice the difference in the line there. Some of the guys use more road through turn 10 after the bump and run it straight to turn 11. Other guys trying to hold the car over the bump and hold it to the left, which creates more of a classic line for the final corner. That technique through there makes a lot of difference. Same with this technique down at turn 1. There's a big bump on the entry. We've seen it all weekend. And you've got to try to drive the car away from the bump and minimise the disruption to the chassis or the balance of the car.
Gives you relative positions and the changes in the field on the Coates Hire leaderboard. Mclaughlin leads into turn 5.
I'm just in the garage with a very nervous Gary Rogers. Gary, it's a bit edgy being up the front.
Oh, well, it's very pleasant to be up the front, to be quite honest. Mind you, we're still to be at the front of the finish.
Hasn't Scotty done a great job? For a young fella, 19-year-old, he's incredible.
He is, and he's just such a lovely young fellow, and that's what's so great about him. He's relaxed, he enjoys what he's doing. He hasn't had his mind tainted, and I'm sure he won't.
Been 3 years since we've seen a Gary Rogers Motorsport win. Could it be today?
Well, yes, and I mean, we've done a lot of hard work in that period, and really the credit goes to the workforce here, because, I mean, the cars are good, and they don't happen through, you know, it's not good luck that gets them like that. It's hard work, solid investment, and, you know, the ability to keep going when it's tough.
Gary, your D&M with Alex Primer's done the trick this year. He's been fantastic. Does he know he's got a 10-second penalty?
No, he doesn't. But at this stage, we'll let the race finish and then have a look at it. According to what we saw, it won't be right. But we won't argue the point with him or the stewards at this point. But if we have to, we will.
No, you will. Hang in there, Gary. All the best.
Thanks very much.
Oh, and he's off straight ahead. Primer down at turn 5. So we're just talking about him, and he makes a mistake down there. Now, how does he deal with it? He's backed off. They talked about this in the driver's briefing yesterday, and he tries to slot back in. If you go back into your original position, it's deemed to be having made an advantage. So he's got to find a spot back in the queue and then get up to racing speed. I'd say he's done a pretty good job of that.
I think so too, and they wanted to have that done as fast as possible, meaning to redress it straight away, which he did. I would think from that there'd be no further action.
I was just going to say, you go back to 2010, the streets of Sydney, Lee Holdsworth had victory there, so...
He's got a problem. Primer's got a problem. He's pulled wide and got right out of it now, so whatever's going on with that car, he's right at the back of the field now, in fact, completely off the road. So very sad for Alex Primer after a ripping start.
And you know what you said before about when it rains it pours? Mark Winterbottom is under investigation for wheels spinning in pit lane.
Okay, and the brake pedal apparently is on the floor. Got a massive brake issue. That was very well done from Primer. Then he moved right off the line. I know he drove through the grass, but he did that to get out of everybody's way. Very good, conscious decision there.
Well, you're comfortably the fastest car on the track, so we've got 16 to go.
He's done a 63.8 Mark Winterbottom, so it's a new lap record on this new configuration circuit, down in 26th position. So great frustration. And now he's in strife again, just as Jamie Whincup. So it's when you're distracted by these other mind-dominating issues, all of a sudden other things get away from you, like pit lane speed limits or the wheel spinning issue. So let's have a look here and see whether the Super Slow-Mo reveals any of the story with Alex Primer. Great shot of Scotty Mclaughlin up on 2 wheels. Apprentice fabricator, does a huge amount of work in the shop. Actually helped repair car number 34 after the incident it had at the Australian Grand Prix. This is the last corner, turn 11. That's Whincup in the weeds.
And all 4 over there too.
On board now with Dave Reynolds, who is in 7th position. He's had a battle with Coulthard the whole time, Matt.
I just wonder how, having Alex Primer out of the picture, how that affects the mindset of Scott Mclaughlin. He used to be able to look into the mirror and see his teammate behind him. Now he's got a very competitive and very hard-charging Jason Bright in his sights, 1.5 seconds behind. So another victim, Primer in the garage. But they're looking on the track because the sister car of Scotty Mclaughlin leads the way here on lap 22 out of 35.
So very cruel for Alex Primer, who's looked competitive all weekend. And this is a pretty healthy battle here with Lowndes, Tander, Van Gisbergen, Coulthard, Reynolds, that whole group very close. Davison right up in behind Reynolds also. And
it's one of those ones, Scafey, where you look at every time we see Garth and Craig in particular, you think this is going to end in tears sooner rather than later.
Remember that unbelievable finish at Bathurst, Matt, wasn't it? It was the closest finish in history prior to last year. And they've had an ongoing battle for many, many years, and he's been right behind him. Lowndes right behind him. You can see the run just then, that he didn't get a good run off the hairpin, and Van Gisbergen trying to get alongside. You can just see that up ahead. Van Gisbergen just pulls back in behind Lowndes. Lowndes has lost ground on Tander coming out of the hairpin. Look at the slide. Isn't this just the best seat in the house, with Dave Reynolds sliding the car over the top of turn 11. The body language of these cars, a trail brake into turn 1. Then all of the curb there. 2 and 3. Nice. Missed the apex, Dave Reynolds. When you're the car behind, you think, well done. You like that little mistake. It just shows a little bit of vulnerability. And Davison now right up in behind his teammate. Brake the car hard. And this is the new complex. Turn 5, 6, all different lines. New surface. Much higher grip level than the rest of the racetrack. And this is this traditional hairpin. Slowest corner on the track. Right down to 65 kilometres an hour in first gear.
Well, now the nerves will start to come to the fore. On the track, in pit lane there at GRM. That's Richard Holway watching on as his young charge continues to lead this race. Scott McLaughlin 1.7 seconds ahead.
And the good thing here, Matt, is Richard Holway is very, very experienced. He was the head engineer at HRT for many, many years. He was heavily involved with Craig Lowndes as he come through as a young guy. He's already making comparisons with Scott McLaughlin with Craig Lowndes. And an old head on young shoulders right now is what you've got to apply. Scott McLaughlin, very inexperienced. Richard just there will be talking to him, calming him down, making sure it's all fine, because at this point of the race, Scott McLaughlin has done a tremendous job and he should win it from here.
And he's building that margin. It's out now to 1.5 seconds and he's just creeping away. We're not seeing any evidence of car sliding. He's not locking brakes, so he's got the car in a nice stride at the moment. There's that bump I spoke of. Gee, the HRT car of James Courtney. That was a car that went on with it, and on with it, and on with it. The bouncing went for another 50 metres. The guys, not only do they look at the data that the car generates, but they do look at our pictures. And they'll get some useful information. Another shot there of Courtney into turn one. It just doesn't look right. It's not mapping the road nicely.
Well, I spoke to he and Rob Starr, his head engineer, and James was basically saying exactly what you just did. It just doesn't settle. It just continues to do this. Now just have a look at this pit stop. You'll see the wheel spin. Now Frank Adamson was right there for it. The category technical manager was right there for it. So was Larko. Just see what transpires out of this, because clearly that is a breach of the rules when the wheel spins like that. Back to this great battle in the middle of this top 4 or 5. Tander, Lowndes, Van Gisbergen, and Coulthard, Reynolds, Davison. That's the group. Just in behind was Courtney. We said he's been complaining about the way it rides this bump. Watch the cars here.
Yeah, I'll grab Tim Edwards, principal down here at Ford Performance Racing. Mate, you saw that vision, I'm just sure, that I did, of Frosty's wheel just spinning. Fair call?
No, there's no problem there at all. It was just when he put it into gear. So, I mean, there's no issue with that. I mean, unfortunately, when you put it into gear, it sort of clunks forward, and depends if you've got your foot on the brake or not. But, I mean, you've driven these things, you know that it moves when you put it into gear, but it stopped before, you know, no issue.
All right, well, we might have a battle post-race.
I think, to Tim's point there, the little bit that I saw of it didn't do a full rotation, and there is a provision to allow it for that gear engagement, so that'll be one they discuss afterwards. Still 1.4 seconds the margin, McLaughlin to Bright.
Very different from what we saw with the Lowndes car and the spinning wheel, wasn't it? Very different.
Now here's an interesting story. We've got Rick Kelly in 12th and Jack Daniels Nissan Altima. His opening account in Adelaide was a position 11 at the beginning of the year, but he's doing a great job, and he's got his teammate Michael Caruso in the Norton entry right behind him. He's got a great record here. He was the winner in 2007, Rick Kelly. 13 top 10 finishes in 18 races. So it's a place that he's immediately clicked with. Even back in the Kmart era, he was very fast here.
Remember, he's got Eric Pender back in his garage as well, and I was talking to Eric about the Greg Murphy days, and he said, you just got to tell these drivers what Murph said, forget about the bumps, act as though they're not there. So they've got a lot of history and a lot of successful history here, and you mentioned he won in 2007, so Rick's the last winner at this circuit in a V8 supercar, because he won race 3 that weekend.
And doesn't the car look good in terms of the way it rides the bumps and gets the car to the fast sections of the road especially? Neil and I commented on the first day of practice that was the best car through turn 1. It was very, very settled, and mid-corner speed was probably the highest of the field.
Tough day for Alex Premer. He's back in the garage at the moment. His problem is the throttle's been jamming open at 100%. Just never a good situation to have. The crew are working inside the footwell at the moment to see if they can find the problem and get it right for the next race. Of course, they want to get back out there, and they want to try and salvage some points from this race first.
I don't think I'd like to have a
no thanks
throttle full stuck at
not here.
Not here.
Well, not anywhere.
Not anywhere. Yeah, but especially here.
Yeah.
So Scotty McLaughlin, 8 laps to go now.
He's lost some margin, half a second. So Bright's exactly 1 second behind him now as they enter the back straight. And if anything, Bright's just skipping away slightly from Garth Tander. So McLaughlin will have to be a little careful here.
That's right. It takes real resilience now. You see the other guy just coming up on you a little bit. You've got to make sure you don't take too big a risk. And a little brake lock up for there for Coulthard. Just made it. That's Tander off the road. So that's the little mistake you can make.
And the bubble burst for Garth Tander in that fight that he's been having all the way through this race with
Reynolds.
Craig Lowndes. Reynolds goes straight through. And we'll wait to readdress his position.
This is going to be wild. This will be wild with Tander. Only backed out of it.
Tander and Davison, former teammates. So all of a sudden, a bit of a moment at the end of the back straight for both Garth Tander and also for David Reynolds. Just scattered the pack, rearranged the order. Check the gap. 1 second. Mclaughlin to Bright. Then Lowndes, Van Gisbergen, Coulthard, Tander, Davison. That's Will. Then Reynolds, Courtney and Webb. That's the 10. And this is the battle for third and fourth.
Two totally different lines there. You can see Lowndes and Van Gisbergen coming out onto the straight between turn 3 and turn 4. Lowndes turns it early like he normally does. Van Gisbergen holds the car wider and turns back down on the apex later. So a couple of different techniques, very similar in terms of lap speed. This is this new section, turns 5, 6 and 7, the kink now before. And this is the previous lap. A little mistake there from Coulthard, and that was already off the road, Tander.
And David Reynolds actually just basically shadowed Fabian in there, and because he braked where Fabian braked, couldn't stop. So Fabian was in trouble. So it was really probably a brake light cue that he took.
Here it is. I'll show you now. We're on board with Will Davison. And straight off the road. Through he goes. And you just get caught, don't you? There's a lot of trust in the competitor in front of you. If they're in strife, you're in strife. And this is this line difference. See how narrow Lowndes is, and he turns early. There's probably almost a full car width difference at that spot.
Well, recall earlier in the day in qualifying when we saw about 5 cars all wander into the dirt at the top of the hill. That's exactly that syndrome. You're under the rear wing of the preceding car. You drive to that rhythm. Oh, Van Gisbergen looks up the inside. That was a big attempt. You could see how grip limited the car was under brakes. Craig left a little gap, and Shane tried the exploratory down the inside, and Bright is definitely coming to terms with that gap now. It's 3/4 of a second.
Well, he's found another 0.2 of a second in the back half of this lap alone. Jason Bright, so he's picking away. Brighty's had success at this place. He won 2 races here back in 2004. And what about if Van Gisbergen can get past Lowndes and have 2 Kiwis on the podium?
Doing a little run.
Place will go berserk. It's not done with here at the front. Well, it's not done with anywhere, especially around Pukekohe. So 5 laps to go. The gap, 0.7 of a second. You've got this 19-year-old with 8 races under his belt, taking on the hottest guy in the field out of the hottest team so far this year, with more than 400 races to his credit.
We've got some issues with tyres on Will Davison's car. Apparently in the background on the radio we've picked up that there could be a tyre issue for Will in the Pepsi Max entry.
Mclaughlin's just hit back there too. He's grabbed another 10th back off Jason Bright at the front, but really there's nothing in it. That's under a second between first and second.
What Scott's got to do now is don't take risks in the spots that you can go off the road. Only drive the car to its limit at the areas where there's a little bit of room for error. So just here, make sure you make the apex. Make sure you don't get the car out into the dirt. Down into turn 1, break it a little bit early, get it turned in. Limit the risk at this time of the race.
Just since turn 8, since the hairpin, he actually opened the gap again. So I suspect that Jason's made a little mistake at the hairpin, because that got down to 0.7, and they only did a couple of corners and it was back out to a second. So, and with only 4 to go, that tiny little bit of relief when you're the lead driver, you look in the mirror and you see, that gap's open. It allows you to get back to the focus of driving to the rhythm of your car and getting back in stride and not being unnerved by the BOC logo getting bigger. As here, turn 4, James Moffat.
Might have been a bit more to that. It's not the easiest place to approach. That's the gap from first to second. Young Scott Mclaughlin. It's great when this series works in terms of the DVS. He won the development series last year. The progression is perfect. His level of experience in the main game, obviously very new to it, but this is very important for him today. This level of performance is career-changing stuff.
And this will be extra race added to the matrix of the year, so that in total terms, more podiums being shared. Remember that little stat that I rolled out before? So it'll be now 6 teams if GRM stay up there that have earned a podium this year. And another name as a driver. We had 9 different drivers in taking podium positions to this point coming into the weekend. Potentially going to, because he's going to be first, second or third, one would think. We're going to see a 10th name added. So that's for me, that's a great stat to see all these different teams share in the success with the new car.
So came in through the development series as a 16-year-old. As Mark Scaife mentioned, he won the series last year. Also won the New Zealand Super Tourers. So whilst he's a young man and in his rookie year in the main game, he knows how to win. He knows how to find the checkered flag. And he'll be taking that same approach to this, which is the biggest race of his life at the moment, to this moment, as he would have throughout those developing stages of this career. There's no doubt, we knew it anyway, he doesn't need to win today to remind us that we're seeing a superstar in the making. But isn't it amazing how sometimes the planets do align in this crazy game when you can notch up a victory in front of a crowd like Pukekohe on a day where we return after 6 years. It's not done with yet. He needs to hold on. Down through turn 5.
He skated all the way into 5 then on the rear brake, MotoGP style. He got it pulled up. I wasn't sure whether he could actually turn it. It's exactly 1 second the last time they crossed one of the timing loops.
And if he can hold on, he will become the youngest ever winner of a V8 supercar race in the Australian Touring Car Championship. That honour currently belongs to Todd Kelly, who was 20 years old when he won in Canberra. This kid's only 19 and 10 months. And Scotty Mclaughlin.
Wow.
Has Pukekohe applauding. 2.9 kilometres. Within 60 seconds, he can wrap up his first ever championship V8 supercar victory.
What a great moment for the sport and for Australasian motorsport. This is reminiscent of what Greg Murphy achieved at this location. Half a lap remaining for Scott Mclaughlin. The crowd is going berserk.
And be calm. Do not do what you did last lap.
This is critical. 250 Ks on approach down to turn 5.
Oh.
He does not want the experienced campaigner of Jason Bright to get a sniff. Only a handful of corners left to go. This youngster is being compared already to the great Craig Lowndes. Well, if he can live up to that, it'll be some kind of career. And as he closes out this one, the Kiwis will erupt. Look out. There's a new kid in town in the V8 supercars. His name is Scott Mclaughlin. He's on the champions list.
Well done. That is an extraordinary drive. Great job, Scott Mclaughlin. Wow.
Really good job.
Richard Holway, well done, mate. Great job.
Jason Bright second and Craig Lowndes third.
Huh.
At 19 years of age and 10 months and 3 days, in fact, he becomes the youngest ever winner of the V8 Supercar Australian Touring Car Championship race. All 3 Holdens make up the podium. Tim Blanchard there in 15th, Tony D'Alberto behind him. Mark Winterbottom from the front row of the grid to 19th. At one stage he led the race. Jamie Whincup starts on pole position and was back in the pit lane within a lap. So the motorsport gods are shining on this young man and New Zealand motorsport right now. We got so used to the Cinderella stories coming out of the Greg Murphy Pukekohe days. Perhaps this is a new era that will unfold at this track. It's one of these unique venues where you can hear the crowd roar over that unbelievable and unmistakable sound of a V8 supercar, let alone 27 of them flying around here. And that is something to savour. Make no mistake, folks, this is not a one-off. This is the start of a very big career. He's got a cool head on his shoulders. They've been treating him like a rock star. And he knows how to deliver in front of the home crowd. Gary Rogers Motorsport claimed their first victory in 3 years.
Guys, amazing. The crowd's just cheering on you, Scotty. It is quite an incredible moment for Scott McLaughlin. Scott, amazing. We spoke before the race. You had high hopes, but that is just incredible. Congratulations on your first V8 Supercar victory.
Thank you. Holy cow. Thanks to everyone here. My mum and dad, they were the ones that got me here. My sister, I can't thank them enough. I've never actually been emotional in the car. That was pretty cool, man. But all the crowd, it's hard to concentrate when you're all clapping, but thank you very much. Mate, I dreamt about this.
Congratulations, you are now officially the youngest V8 Supercar winner in the history of the sport.
Yeah. Woo, that's awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Enjoy that podium, mate. Make the most of it. Well done, Scott McLaughlin. Over to Jason Bright. Brighty, you raced him all the way, almost got there. It was on.
Mate, awesome for Scotty. You know, he's certainly shown, you know, he's got the goods this year, and you know, he drove really well then. You know, we were sort of a little bit lucky. We didn't make the best start, and you know, there's a couple of guys that had problems, but you know, good for the championship. Car's obviously got some pace. It looked after his tyres pretty well, and we started to pull Scotty in there, but there was a little bit different track to what we had yesterday. So you know, we've got some thinking to do before the next one.
Another solid result, Brighty. Congratulations.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you.
And Craig Lowndes once again, boy. Lowndes, you're right up there. It looked a little bit bumpy during qualifying earlier today, but you got the job done when it counted. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Look, it's been a pretty tough day, I suppose. It's you know, to qualify where we did. Got into the top 10 shootout, then of course I made a mistake down into turn 5, which of course that doesn't help anything. You know, miraculously I picked up 2 spots before we even started. So look, it's great, obviously, to all the guys in the team, and the Red Bull guys have just done a fantastic job. To Levi and Chili, hello. It's been a while. It's nice to bounce back from Tasmania the way we have.
It's a huge effort to make the podium the way you did. Congratulations, Lowndesy. Enjoy it.
Cheers, thanks, I will.
Dado, sorry to interrupt, mate. No, you're right, you stay. Hey, Jamie, a lot of interest in what happened with your tyre. I'm sure you're aware by now Mark Winterbottom had a similar drama. What do you think, curb, or what's your thought?
I got no idea. I got a good start, and then I used some curb at 4, which popped it off the bead, but no more than I've...
There it is there, no more than on the screen.
Yeah, no more than I usually use. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Hey, you know, we run the pressures a bit lower for the race, you know, to do the laps, but certainly not under pressured. We're certainly within Dunlop's recommendations. So, yeah, interesting one. She's a good old rugged track, and I think we may need to pump the tyres up a bit so they last, you know.
Yeah, good point. Just going back to that start, mate, Scafie was rambling about it, understandably so. Between you and Winterbottom, they were 2 of the best starts you'll ever see. When you go and look at them, mate, outstanding. You really got your act together there now.
Thank you. Yeah, I got a goodie, and Mark always gets a good start as well. So, yeah, dog eat dog down into turn 1, but now lucky it's not you start where you finish. Lucky we got a second quali, so get to start at the front, hopefully get some points today.
I mean, it is a great format, mate. There's 3 more races we're going to see you in this weekend. Yep. Give us your heads up on the track, mate. It's kept its character, we're all saying that. Lots of new stuff, looks great, everyone's here. You enjoying the ride?
Yeah, absolutely. No, the track's great, you know. I'm not going to say that we should straighten it out or fix anything. It's all part of it, and it's all part of the challenge. So gobbled me up today. We need to work a bit harder.
All right, thanks, Jamie. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
He still leads the championship, however, but only by 28 points now over his good mate Will Davison. Craig Lowndes has bounced back up to 3rd, and look at Scott McLaughlin now 4th in the title race after 6 races. And as Jamie Whincup mentioned, qualifying is already done for race 7 with Fabian Coulthard to start from pole position. But all that's still ahead of us later on this afternoon. Let's get to the podium. This will be a super popular one.
I reckon you might be right, Matt. Race 6 of our year, the 2013 V8 Supercars ITM 400 Auckland. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please congratulate our winner from Fujitsu Racing GRM, Scott McLaughlin. In 2nd place for Team BOC, Jason Bright. In 3rd place for Red Bull Racing Australia, Craig Lowndes. And representing our winning team, Fujitsu Racing GRM, is Mitch Feeney. Making the presentation of the third place trophy is Mark Spring, the Managing Director of DTR. Presenting to second place is Jenna Wooten, the Manager, Major Events, Auckland Tourism Events and Economic Development Limited. Making the presentation to the winning team is David Fleming, board member of our naming rights partner, ITM. And making the presentation of the first place trophy is Gordon Buswell, Chief Executive Officer of ITM. There they are, ladies and gentlemen, the 2013 ITM 400 Auckland Race 6 winners.
He joins an exclusive list. Scott Mclaughlin. I've already mentioned that he's made history by becoming the youngest winner of a race in the championship. What a way to celebrate a return to this wonderful circuit and this wonderful motorsport crowd.